Hi, hello, my name is dis.cat. This is Project Hardcover, where we're letting books be the escape. Hello, lovelies, and today for you I have my Booktube-A-Thon 2016 wrap-up. Now, I'm sure, as you've noticed, my Booktube-A-Thon videos kinda stopped after day 3. Here's the thing. The updates and the challenges just became more and more impossible to do while I was at my sister's house babysitting. You know, first of all, I couldn't really take a break from babysitting my nephew to make updates, and then 2, I didn't have my books at my house to do the challenges, so I was just like, you know, I might just have to forego these last couple of days. Well, that's just more time for me to get all of the reading done, and guess what? I did get all of the reading done. That's right, I beat my Booktube-A-Thon TBR. I finished all of the books with like plenty of time to spare, and it was just amazing. So yes, while I am sad that I didn't get to finish all of the video challenges and everything, I am super stoked that I finished all of the reading and everything. So now I'm going to talk to you about the books that I read. So the first book that I read for Booktube-A-Thon, which was my Pick a Book with Something Yellow on the Cover book, was The Haters by Mr. Jesse Andrews. And I loved this book. This book was just as funny, if not funnier, than Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. And it was just, Jesse Andrews has a very specific, very special kind of sense of humor, and it just speaks to me. It was just, it was so good. I was laughing out loud and just, it was so awesome. This book got 5 out of 5 stars from me. The second book that I read for Booktube-A-Thon was my just read 7 books challenge book, you get it, was This Savage Song by Miss Victoria Schwab. And I did really enjoy this book. I love the world, I love the concept and the premise, and just everything about all of that is so interesting and it's so cool. My only real problem with this was that the story, the plot, was very slow, but I'm not gonna fault it too much for that because this is the first book in, I think, a trilogy. So first book, world building, and then hopefully the second book will have all of that action and character development and all that awesome stuff in it. But Kate Harker is like my spirit animal. Like, she is a bamf, and I love her. Like, if I could be her, I totes would, because oh my god, that girl is so awesome. So yes, I'm pretty sure I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The third book that I read for Booktube-A-Thon was my Read a Book That Is Older Than You challenge book, and it was Fahrenheit 451 by Mr. Ray Bradbury. So I did have to read this book at some point before in school, though I cannot at all remember when, and I couldn't remember any of it, so I really wanted to reread it so I could remember it, because it's one of, like, the biggest classics in American literature. And I did, and oh my god, I loved it. I loved it. Just, yes. As I've mentioned, I don't want to go too into detail about all of my feelings about this, because I do plan on doing a discussion video for this book. Just know that yes, this book is great, the messages are amazing, I understand why you have to read it in school, we should have to read it in school, just yes, I understand, yes, this is great. The fourth book that I read for the Booktube-A-Thon was my Read a Book That You Picked Up Because of Booktube book, and that book is Salt to the Sea by Miss Ruta Sepetys. I loved this book. Like, for real, I would have finished this book in one sitting had I not actually stopped myself to go and pick up other books to read. Like, I would have just plowed right through this. This book was so poignant, and it was so unabashedly brutal with just how terrible things were during this time for these people. Like, Ruta did not hold anything back. She did not sugarcoat a damn thing. And that is one of the best things you can do for this time period in literature, is just not try and sugarcoat anything. It was terrible, it was awful, and we really need to shine light on that. And also, it's just about an epically horrible and tragic event in history that we just never hear about. If there was anything that I didn't like about this book, it would have to be the Alfred point of view chapters, but that was it. That was like the only thing that I did not like about this book. So I'm pretty sure I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It might have been 4, but I'm pretty sure it was 5. The 5th book that I read for Booktube-A-Thon was my only read a book after sunset book, and that was The Death of Bees by Lisa O'Donnell. So here's the thing. I liked this book. Like, I liked it enough and was curious enough about it to keep reading. Like, I wanted to know how it was all going to come together, how they were going to deal with this incredibly difficult situation that they were in, but it wasn't painfully interesting. Like, at times it was really, really hard to connect to the main characters, and it kind of fell flat for some places here and there. But overall, I did enjoy it. It was really, really messed up. Like, if you guys have ever watched either Skins or Shameless, either the British version or the US version, definitely has that feel. Like, definitely, especially Shameless. Like, yes, Shameless in Scotland, basically. So with all that being said, I can say that after owning this book for like 3 years, that I read it and I gave it, I think, 3 stars. Pretty sure 3-star book. It was okay. The 6th book that I read for Booktube-A-Thon was my Read a Book by Your Favorite Author challenge book, and it was Lament by Miss Maggie Stiefvater, which is the first book in the Fairy Queen's Deception duology. So yes, as I've mentioned, this is one of the only books left by Miss Maggie Stiefvater that I have not yet read. It was also the first book that Maggie ever had published. And you can kinda definitely tell that, yeah, this was the first book that she ever had published. That being said, it was not a bad book. It was just not at all on par with the Raven Cycle. But the story was still very interesting, and it did grip you in places. Like, I was like freaking out a little bit, like in anxiety and concern for the characters in a couple places in this. And of course, it's full of fairies and folklore and all of that crazy stuff that Maggie just knows way too much about. So while obviously it was not her best work, it was still very good. All of that being said, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And then the last book, the seventh book that I read, which accomplished the challenge of read a book and then watch its film adaptation, was Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. Yes, so if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you have heard me on at least 1 or 2 occasions promise that I was going to start the series and then proceed to not do that. Well, now I can say that I started Vampire Academy, and while I can't 100% jump on the bandwagon, I do see some of the hype. Like, don't get me wrong, this book was good. It was way, way, way better than I thought it would be. I am 100% with people on that, but I don't think it was the best thing ever. But I'm also taking into consideration that this is the first book in a 6-book series, so it's probably not going to be the absolute best, but I do have hope that they will continue to get better and better as they go. That being said, I gave this first book a 4 out of 5 stars, and I really, really, really want to get to more of it. I also did attempt to watch the film adaptation of this book, but oh my god, guys, that was so bad. I think I got like maybe 45 minutes into it before I was like, I quit. I can't do this. I can't put myself through this anymore. And that is it. That was my Booktube-A-Thon 2016. For those of you who are curious as to how many pages all of that was, it came out to be 2,267 pages, which I'm gonna say it's pretty badass. Like, I think that that's okay for me to say that. Like, I don't feel any shame or guilt in saying that. That's pretty badass. Let me know down in the comments, how did your Booktube-A-Thon go? Did you win? What was your favorite book of the Booktube-A-Thon? My favorite book of this Booktube-A-Thon was probably Mos Def, The Haters. Like, probably. So let me know what your favorite book was. Let me know how many pages you read. Let me know all of that good stuff down in the comments. I would love to hear all about it. As always, thanks you guys for watching. I will see you next time, and remember, books are the escape.